The entire story of how this film evolved into a nightmare for Disney would require an extensive viewing experience, comparable to that of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. There have been numerous instances of incompetence, as well as damaging leaks and sassy stars who lack an understanding of the art of promotion. However, even Indy 5 is dwarfed by the length of time actors have been in front of the camera for Snow White. This film has been in production since 2022, and it appears that everyone has heard about the backlash against the new Snow White remake trailer on YouTube. Based on the reaction, it appears that the film is destined for failure. The decision to postpone its release and transform the dwarfs into a diverse group of individuals and subsequently into mystical creatures has not significantly improved the situation. Indeed, that is the case.
Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office. They are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea.
Audiences have begun dubbing Rachel Zegler's recent comments as a Snow White apology, interpreting her words as a clear attempt to backtrack on her previous statements. The shift in Zegler's tone has sparked widespread discussion, with many observing that she's now saying almost the complete opposite of what she expressed just a year ago. Critics are pointing out the stark contrast between her initial remarks, which seemed dismissive or critical of the traditional elements of the Snow White story, and her current more conciliatory tone that appears to embrace the classic themes she once seemed to reject. Some feel that Zegler's change in attitude might be an attempt to align herself more closely with the audience's expectations or to mitigate the backlash she faced over her earlier comments. This sudden shift has not gone unnoticed by fans and detractors alike, who are quick to highlight how her words now seem tailored to undo any damage to her image. The phrase Snow White apology has been trending on social media, suggesting that many believe her latest statements are more about damage control and less about a genuine change of heart regarding her views on the beloved Disney character and its traditional storyline.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
As a diehard Disney fan myself, I feel like
The situation surrounding Rachel Zegler's recent interviews has taken a fascinating turn, as we now have two D23 Expo interviews, one from 2023 and another from 2024, to directly compare. This comparison has sparked a lot of interest, especially since the release of Snow White was initially scheduled for March 2024, but has now been pushed back to March 2025. The delay places both interviews at the exact same stage in the marketing timeline for the film, making the differences between them even more striking and worthy of closer examination. In her 2023 interview, Zegler's comments about Snow White were seen by many as controversial. She openly criticized elements of the classic storyline, suggesting that the traditional themes were outdated and didn't align with modern values. Her remarks came across as a bold attempt to redefine the character and the film itself, aiming to distance the new version from the original. This approach sparked significant backlash from fans of the classic Disney tale, who felt that Zegler's perspective strayed too far from what made Snow White an enduring favorite. Fast forward to the 2024 interview, and we see a noticeable shift in Zegler's tone. This time, her comments are more aligned with the traditional aspects of the story, suggesting a newfound appreciation for its classic elements. It appears that both Disney and Zegler are taking a more cautious approach, carefully crafting their messaging to win back the audience's favor. This strategic change suggests a deliberate effort to course correct after the negative reaction to Zegler's previous statements. The contrast between the two interviews indicates that Disney and Zegler have made a conscious decision to steer the film's marketing in a direction that emphasizes respect for the beloved legacy of Snow White, likely in an attempt to mend the fractured relationship with fans and generate positive buzz for its eventual release.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story.
In her latest statements, Rachel Zegler has taken a noticeably different approach, now portraying herself as a passionate Disney fan who holds a deep appreciation for the studio and its legacy. She spoke fondly of her love for Disney, emphasizing her admiration for its storytelling and the magical world it has created over the years. This enthusiastic embrace of Disney seems to stand in stark contrast to her previous remarks, where she openly criticized the original Snow White film, suggesting that it needed to be modernized to fit contemporary values. Back then, Zegler's comments gave the impression that she was not particularly enamored with the classic version of the story. What's crucial to remember in this context is that Snow White holds a special place in Disney's history. It was the studio's very first animated feature film, released in 1937, Zegler's earlier comments struck a nerve with fans who see the original as a timeless classic that laid the foundation for all Disney magic to follow. Now, her shift to praising Disney's legacy feels like an attempt to bridge the gap between her modern interpretation of the character and the traditional values that so many fans hold dear, aiming to strike a balance that resonates with both new audiences and longtime Disney enthusiasts.
When you have any degree of respect for the source material, you don't make a lot of mistakes like this. You have some level of pride in your work, and you make sure that you...
The controversy surrounding the portrayal of the Seven Dwarfs in Disney's upcoming Snow White live-action adaptation has been simmering for years, stretching back even before filming began in 2016. Originally, Disney announced that they would bring the 1937 animated classic, itself adapted from the Brothers Grimm fairy tale, to life in a new live-action version. While this news initially generated excitement among fans, it wasn't until much later, when Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, that the controversy truly erupted. Peter Dinklage, the acclaimed actor known for his role in Game of Thrones, publicly called out Disney for what he saw as hypocrisy. He criticized the studio for promoting its diverse casting choices while seemingly keeping the outdated narrative of the Seven Dwarfs living in a cave intact. Dinklage's comments ignited a heated debate about the film's portrayal of the dwarfs, raising questions about representation and whether the story was being modernized thoughtfully or just superficially. Recent months have seen Disney embroiled in legal battles that have only intensified the scrutiny, adding fuel to the fire. Elon Musk has been a prominent figure in these disputes, personally funding 2 high-profile lawsuits against Disney. One of these involves Gina Carano's discrimination lawsuit, in which she claims she was wrongfully terminated due to her political beliefs. The second lawsuit is a civil rights complaint alleging discrimination against men within the company. Central to these legal challenges is leaked video of a Disney executive allegedly making statements that could be used as evidence in the case. This swirl of controversies, from the depiction of the dwarfs to allegations of discrimination, has cast a shadow over the live-action Snow White project, raising questions about Disney's commitment to inclusivity, fairness, and its handling of sensitive cultural issues. As the film's release draws nearer, the situation remains fluid, with both Disney and its critics under the microscope.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white health person.
Just kind of unspoken.
The recent backlash against Disney's newest trailer has reached a boiling point, with many viewers labeling it the most disliked in the company's history. Critics argue that this trailer represents the saturation point of what they see as Disney's persistent woke agenda. Fans and detractors alike have voiced their frustration, claiming that the studio's attempts at modernizing classic stories with politically correct messaging have overshadowed the heart of what once made Disney films so beloved. For these critics, the latest trailer symbolizes a shift away from authentic storytelling toward a formula driven by social agendas and virtue signaling. They believe that Disney's focus on representation and inclusivity, while valuable, has become forced and disingenuous, ultimately alienating longtime fans. The outpouring of negative reactions suggests a growing divide between the studio's intentions and the audience's expectations, with many wondering if Disney can reclaim its magic.
This promotional still gave a lot of people hope that Disney had gotten the message. It led people to believe that they'd gone back and made changes to get rid of...
Rachel Zegler is an absolute disaster at the box office. Pretty much the whole internet hates the Snow White actress. By now you know interviews for a movie are usually supposed to serve as a kind of marketing to make people excited for the movie, yet every single interview that Rachel Zegler gives makes for less and less popular and makes people lose interest in the movie.
Not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her.
She single-handedly destroys any people may have had in the movie, and then she even goes out on the street demanding more pay, even though she was paid more for this movie alone than most of the actors earning their entire careers while promoting the film. Zegler often came off as incredibly narcissistic, as any photo she posted was usually just of her. This was in contrast to Galot, who posted a short video shot with herself, her co-star, and the rest of the crew who had worked in the film as what was seen as a final shot. Zegler then posted a tweet where she thanked the fans for their support before declaring Free Palestine, and whilst this might seem like a good thing with the actors trying to help out the people of Palestine, others saw it as a jab at the former Wonder Woman actress, who's an Israeli actress and very vocal about her support of Israel because of this political rivalry. It seems Disney backtracked on a promised D23 representation and removed Gallo from singing scenes from both the films and the teaser trailer at the last minutes, because of her support for Israel, and so she started backing out of interviews and diminishing her press tour appearances, but maybe because she also secretly hates Zegler. It's impossible to know, but it seems like the key actors are also falling out, and if the actors start hating each other, the fans hate the movie. The entire thing's constantly change with just CGI, and nobody has any passion for the film left. This will make Snow White one of the worst films ever made as it. Just seems like this entire project has been one massive failure. There's clearly a massive lack of love and passion for the project that should have been doing all it could to honor the original, not just for the sake of the story, but because of how foundational it was to Disney's success. It's almost poetic that the film that changed the landscape of Disney is now the one destroying it. In every interview, she shows how unlikable she is and makes it clear how much she despises the original film. I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so, it's incredible how 6 seconds are enough to make people dislike her. She, with her arrogant, smug attitude, did she even think for a single second about what she's about to say? There doesn't seem so. There's a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird, so we didn't do that. This time weird, yeah, the old movie was so weird, the only weird person is you. It's interesting how she doesn't even think a second about the fact that she's working for Disney, yet is on Disney's most important movie that made the company what it is today. While she's trying to promote an adaptation of that movie, it's ironic and it's dumb, and I'm wondering if it's because she's young or because she's inexperienced or both, but that girl should be kept far away from any microphones or cameras, because she sucks at doing promo.
Cartoon was made 85 years ago. It's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women.
Fans took to social media platforms to communicate their disappointment with many concerns over the film's tone, visuals, and deviations from the original story. The reaction was swift and overwhelmingly negative, with downvotes on the trailer outnumbering upvotes by a significant margin. With this amount of people already canceling their plans to see the film, you have to believe the movie could be in for a rude awakening at the box office. The sheer volume of negative feedback suggests that a significant portion of the fan base is not on board with the changes being made to the classic story. The trailer, instead of generating excitement and anticipation, has reinforced the perception that this new iteration of Snow White is out of touch with what many audiences want.
They don't have the personnel to make anything but that anymore.
Plotting and so on, and we know that because of this footage from a screening of the film, which doesn't release widely until next year, but this footage has made the rounds on the internet. Let's see some of it now. You wash the dishes, you tidy up the room, you clean those hards, and he'll use the broomy whistle while you work, and cheerfully together we can tidy up the place. So I'm so in the original Snow White, she cleans the cottage after woodland animals take her there. She's just happy that she has somewhere to remain hidden when her stepmother is trying to kill her, and when Lear learns the 7 dwarfs live there, she offers to cook and clean the place for them as a sign of her gratitude. But in this modern version, Snow White breaks into the dwarf house. I mean, she does that in the original too. She breaking and entering is a theme in both, let's admit, but in this one she breaks in and then forces the dwarves to clean for her. These dwarves who've been toiling away all day get to come home and get bossed around by the woman whose life they're helping to save and who they didn't invite into their house in the first place. They have to tidy up the place and sing. While they do it so clearly, the Barbie screenwriter they hired to write this film thinks that this is a clever kind of role reversal. The woman is in control, the men are subservient. Feminism achieved. Apparently there's a problem with a Snow White ride at Disneyland. Can you imagine what the problem might be? Well, apparently the issue is because the prince wakes Snow White from her slumber. Because she's asleep, she's not able to give consent to the kiss, so apparently we need to change the ride at freaking Disneyland. As one of these activists said, a kiss he gives to her without her consent while she's asleep, which cannot possibly be true love if only one person knows it's happening. Seriously, N.